We're always hearing about cities where it's just impossible to find an affordable place to live. Well, today we're looking at a city that was the poster child for that exact problem. But somehow they might be cracking the code. We're talking about Austin, Texas. And trust me, their story is full of surprises.
I mean, we've all seen this story play out, right? A city gets cool, it becomes a major tech hub, tons of people rush in, and boom, housing prices just go through the roof. It becomes impossible for regular people to live there. And for a while, that was exactly the story in Austin. But then, something totally unexpected happened.
Yeah, you heard that right. The very same city that was famous for its crazy rent hikes is now leading the entire country in rent drops. What a turnaround. So, what in the world did they do? Okay, so to really get how Austin pulled this off, we have to rewind a little bit. We need to understand the absolute pressure cooker they were living in. This wasn't just, prices going up a little. This was a full-blown crisis. So this pressure had been building up for years. The tech boom before the pandemic really kicked things into high gear. By 2018, things were so bad that voters actually approved a $250 million housing bond. I mean, that's serious money. Then, a year later, the city set this massive goal, 135,000 new homes. And now, you fast forward to 2024, and a big new study is saying, hey, it's actually working. So the big question is, how'd they do it? Well, Austin's secret weapon wasn't some single giant revolutionary law. Nope, they took a different path. A strategy of small steps. A whole series of little strategic tweaks to their building rules that, when you add them all up, had this huge impact. And taking it piece by piece like that is often way easier to get done politically than trying to pass one massive, controversial overhaul all at once. Okay, so let's look at what these little changes actually were, because together they really packed a punch. First, they basically said you can now build up to 3 homes on most lots that used to just have one single-family house. That's a big deal. Second, they made it way easier to split up a piece of land to build smaller, more affordable homes. And third, they relaxed a bunch of rules, things like how tall you can build, how much parking you need, and setbacks, how far back a building has to be from the street. It was like a multi-pronged attack on the housing shortage. And this, right here, is where the story gets really compelling. All these kind of boring, technical, step-by-step changes, well, they didn't just have a tiny effect. They triggered a massive shift in Austin's housing market. A shift so big, it got the whole country talking. This is it. This is the headline. In just a couple of years, Austin flipped the script completely. They went from being a city known for rent spikes to a city leading the pack in rent drops. I mean, it's pretty much a textbook example of supply and demand, right? And look, this isn't just a feeling people have. There's real data to back this up. A major study from the Pew Charitable Trusts confirmed it. Rents are falling. City officials are also seeing home prices cool off. All this new building is finally easing the pressure for both renters and buyers. It's gotten to the point where other cities are now looking at Austin and thinking, maybe they're onto something. But Austin isn't stopping there. They're not just, taking a victory lap. Energized by this success, they're now turning their attention to the next big piece of the puzzle. It's a type of housing that honestly has been ignored for decades in most American cities. It's called the missing middle. So what on earth is missing middle housing? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Think about it. In most cities, you have 2 main options: a single-family house with a yard or a big, massive apartment building. The missing middle is everything in between. We're talking about duplexes, fourplexes, small apartment buildings, the kind of gentle density that can blend right into a neighborhood without totally changing its vibe. Yeah, Councilmember Paige Ellis, who was one of the people pushing for this, really put it perfectly. She said it's all about creating more housing options that people can actually afford, but also it lets the city grow more efficiently. You're using the roads and pipes and power lines that are already there. It's just smart growth, plain and simple. But as you can probably guess, this kind of big change is never easy. It's never without a fight. Even with these promising results, there's still a huge debate raging in Austin about what to do next. And people are raising some really valid concerns about the future. And this really gets to the heart of it. On one side, you have supporters who are saying, look, this is the only way to get more housing choices and build a city that's sustainable. But on the other side, you have critics who are really worried. They're warning that if you don't have strong protections for renters, all this new development could just end up pushing out the people who've lived there for years. They're afraid it's just going to benefit developers and change the whole character of neighborhoods. It's that classic tug of war, right? Growth versus stability. So where does that leave things? Well, this story is still being written. For the next few years, city staff is going to be busy drafting all the new zoning rules. After that, it's back to the public for more hearings so everyone can have their say. And then, finally, it'll be up to the city council to take the final votes. The future of Austin's housing is literally being decided right now.
Which leaves us with this huge question. Austin has pretty much proven that if you build a lot more housing, you can actually bring down rents. That's a big deal. But the debate over how to build, where to build, and most importantly, who you're building for, that is far from over. So is Austin's big experiment going to be the blueprint that other cities follow? Or is it going to be a cautionary tale about growing too fast? Honestly, that's the billion-dollar question that every city in the country is watching to see how it plays out.